and who you can vilify, and who you can say is a minion of Satan, the bad guy. However, let's go back to the early tradition where we understand that the Christian community was really struggling with what is Jesus doing when he's not on the earth during the time he's entombed. Because when we arrive at the tomb on Easter morning, he's not there, so where has he been? And in the Orthodox tradition, where he has been is down in hell. And what's he been doing there? He has been harrowing it. He has been breaking its gates and letting all people free. He has been doing action of liberty. Liberation becomes part of salvation. And not just for the right people, for all people. Even going back in the ancient Orthodox icons, even going back to lifting up and out of the tomb Adam and Eve. Salvation includes our ancestors, who other traditions might say didn't get it right. Includes people who would have been considered pagan, etc. and so forth. Now here's something, how Jesus reflects in John. Repeatedly, we have it in John's Gospel. Jesus associating himself with the Spirit of truth. With truth. We heard it again in the Gospel today. And those who listen to my voice follow truth, the Spirit of truth. It reminds me, in an important connection, going back to Holy Week, comes full circle. When Jesus is in front of Pontius Pilate, they have this kind of weird discussion going back and forth where Pilate is saying, "You've been called the King of the Jews. Are you the King of the Jews?" And Jesus basically says, "I have come here to earth for one purpose only, to testify to the truth. And those who hear my voice follow it." He's come for one purpose only, to testify to the truth. In the Vulgate Bible, which is a translation of the Greek to the Latin, the linguist there did something very interesting. Because he has Pilate say in Latin, after Jesus says, "I've come here to testify to the truth," Pilate says, "What is truth?" In Latin, quid est veritas? What is truth? Let me take a moment and ask you, anybody here like Harry Potter? Familiar with Harry Potter? There's a moment there where we get revealed about the nature of Tom Riddle. The young man who basically grows up and becomes who? Voldemort. Tom Riddle becomes Voldemort. And there's this really interesting anagram that reveals that to us in the story, where basically the term "I am Voldemort" is all rearranged, and it says Tom Mordolfo Riddle. Right? Morvolo. Is it what's the middle name? Morvolo. But it translates into that "I am Voldemort." In the Latin, in the transcribers into the Vulgate, when we have Pilate saying, "Quid est veritas?" What is truth? If you mix all those words up in an anagram, the Latin becomes "est vir qui adas." Est vir qui adas. The man standing before you. It answers its own question. What is truth? The man standing before you. If we, as people who've been baptized into a spirit of truth, if we have been baptized into that spirit, then as we live our lives, one of the most important spiritual practices we can be engaged in is becoming authentically who God has made us to be. And those who might use a binary system that says, "But some of you are evil," have basically failed to understand what the resurrection was all about, in my opinion. If Jesus has harrowed hell, there's nobody there. And all of us are simply walking with one another on what it is to be authentically what Christ and God have made us to be. In the spirit of truth that has adopted us to Christ through our baptism and symbolizes this flame of the paschal candle, it is baptismal promise that we carry within us. When we walk into a political situation in which we hear lies, we must speak the truth. When we learn that a free press is oppressed, we must speak the truth. When we hear other faith traditions want to vilify other people, we must speak the truth. It is always an act of courage, and that is why Jesus concludes in John, do not be afraid. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Because the enemy of truth isn't lies, it's fear. Courage lights our way in the Spirit. And as Jesus says in John again, the truth will set you free. Let us be free and burn the flame of the Spirit of truth. In Christ. Amen.